One thing that I'm a huge fan of and that I love doing is automation, not just as a developer, but in other areas of my life as well. So recently, what I've been doing with Quasarcast is uploading videos to YouTube, and then every single time I upload a video to YouTube, I then go to quasarcast.com, and then I have to open like this little crappy admin panel that I didn't put enough time into building. I have to open that up and then basically put the YouTube video in manually, and I also have to add in playlists like that manually. And I just sort of got to thinking recently, oh my gosh, this is nuts. Every single time I do this. In fact, it was so annoying that sometimes I would simply not put the video onto quasarcast.com. And it's like, this cannot fly. I can't have a website that I'm telling people to go to that doesn't even have the videos that are available on YouTube. And so, obviously down the line, you're going to get a lot of benefit of having a Quasarcast account because you'll be able to get the paid videos for starters. But also the fact that you'll have all this stuff that like saves your spot on the videos and like lets you know what courses you've completed and stuff like that. And so I thought, man, at some point I've really got to set this up properly. And so today I started working on that, and I got to tell you, it was quite a lot of fun. I got to sort of mess around with the YouTube API, and I got to admit, like playing with the Google API in the past, I found a little bit annoying. There's a lot of friction there for me, like a couple of bits and pieces that I just couldn't be bothered to figure out. It's not so much I couldn't be bothered; there were just higher value things I could have done with my time. So I took the time to do it today, and it's really exciting because now when I upload a new video to YouTube, basically, it's just going to go straight to my Quasarcast website, jump into the correct course, because a playlist in YouTube is going to be a course on Quasarcast, and then a video on YouTube is going to be a video within that playlist. That's kind of how it's all going to work. And so I just wanted to bring this up in this podcast, the importance of this kind of automation, because now that I've done this, I am going to save so much time in my life. And it's not just that. It's also the fact that I know that when I do a video, I don't have to do a whole lot of extra work. And because of that, there's less friction and there's more chance I'm actually going to create a new video. So basically, my goal is to remove as many of these tasks as possible so that my job is just to create the video, come up with a title and a description, and I'm done. That's it. And then I just palm it off. And so some of you might know I hired my nephew recently, and he's actually doing my podcast now. So all I have to do is sit down, record this. He's going to take this recording, do all of the editing, and all of that stuff for me. And all I had to do it was surprisingly easy. I can't believe how people get so uptight about processes and how difficult it is. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here, but all I did was I created a document going through all the stuff I did. It took me about half an hour. Because it takes me about 10 minutes to upload a video, but I had to document it. Let's be more real here. It's probably more like an hour to get that done. And then I recorded a video. I just recorded a video doing every single one of those tasks, uploaded it to YouTube. This is stuff I'm comfortable doing anyway. And then created a document on ClickUp. So ClickUp is what I use for, it's kind of like Monday.com, like a more advanced version of Trello. That's probably the best way I can describe it without you checking it out. I love it. And basically, I just created a document on ClickUp that's got the YouTube video and then the instructions underneath. The YouTube video for the next thing you got to do and the instructions underneath that. And so now I pay him every week and he handles all of that for me. And I got to tell you, it is so totally worth the money. I believe that Quasarcast is going to be giving me some income soon. I'm going to be able to create free content and paid content. And the idea is you guys will love my free content so much that you'll be sucked into paying for my paid content. Jeez, I shouldn't say sucked in. I really think that you're going to love it. But yeah, anyway, automation, palming it off. To me, this is, you could also call this leveraging human time. It's automation. I create this new podcast, put it inside of a folder in Dropbox, add a description and a title to it, and then everything else is up to Bailey. It will automatically create a task in ClickUp, and then ClickUp automatically tells him what he needs to do attached to that task, and then he just takes it from there, gets a notification on his phone and all that as well. I'm not sure we've set up notifications. We'll have to get that done. But that's another part of my... I mean, it used to take me, 20 minutes to half an hour to do the entire process for a podcast. Now I sit down, record it. It takes me about 1 minute to do the title and description, and it just goes straight to my Dropbox and it's done. Automation, it's totally awesome. You should try it. Yeah, so then I've got this YouTube thing as well, where that's all going to be automated now. I do it with my dishes as well. I've talked about how I do dishes in the past. This is less more automation. This is more process, I guess you'd say. Coming up with a good process. But okay, that's another topic. Another classic one, I've talked about this in the past, is generators. Something like Hygen or Plop.js, where you can basically, you put the time into saying, this is how you generate a file for like a model, for example. And then I can say, for example, you know what, let me give you the entire example here. When I create a Laravel model, I have to have a controller. I have the request so that I can handle all the validation. There's the model itself. There's the migrations. There's the model on the front end. There's a whole bunch of files that I make. And this is how I like to develop. I like to pull things apart. And so I like that all of this sits in different files. I actually think lots of files is good, contrary to some people's belief. But I like to create a file for very specific tasks. But this means that it takes a lot of work to get it all done, and the Laravel generators don't do things exactly the way I want them to, which makes sense. You know, they're not made for everyone. They're not made for me. They're made to apply for everyone. And so by creating my own generator, I can now just say Hygen model new, and then it'll ask me what's the name of the model, what's the name of all of the files that I want for that model. Like, do I want a policy? Do I want a request? Do I want to have routes for this? All that kind of stuff. And it just builds out all the files for me. And one thing I'm going to do in the future, I used to do this in the past, but when I was using Plop.js, but now that I've moved to Hygen, I don't have this anymore. But in the future, I'll be able to even get it to ask me what fields I want. And it can say, what field do you want? What kind of a field is that? And then give me a list of like unsigned big integer or whatever. And then it can say, is this related to any other models? What kind of a relationship? Is it like a has many relationship or a belongs to relationship? And it can ask me all of those questions. And then I do virtually no work. I just answer the questions and all the files are generated how I like it. And so that's why I wanted to talk about automation in this podcast and how much it's affected my life. And to begin with, it really does, like, to be honest, it kind of sucks. This is kind of the same with code as well, creating abstractions. Sometimes it sucks to add a little bit of extra. I'll give you an example for this. At work, we've got this concept of livestock events, right? And so there's this huge chain where you've got like a farm. A farm's got different periods, as in like a period in time. And then a period in time has livestock classes. And then there's livestock class groups. And then those livestock class groups have livestock eventables. And then you've got events all the way down at the bottom of the chain. But you can end up with like 15 or 20. We could end up with about 30 different events, like stuff you can do related to livestock, like selling or purchasing or adjustments. There's all sorts of different things you can add in there. And so rather than doing the policies for every single one of those events, the policy logic is the exact same. You need to check if the user has access to the farm that's related to that event, right? And it's a lot of logic because you have to kind of go up the chain. And anyway, I won't go too much into details, but basically by creating one policy that was able to encompass all of those events, this is kind of another form of automation. Now they all use that same policy file, and I know that they're going to be safe because the way policy works for all of these is the exact same. And a lot of the logic behind them, like all of the scopes, if you don't understand Laravel, there's a lot of scopes as well, is the exact same. This is the exact same for Quasar components as well. Do automation here. Find out if you're creating the same component over and over and over and over again, find a way to automate that. Find a way to abstract it. And by doing that, you're going to save yourself not just a lot of code, and reducing your code surface is always good and reduces bugs, but also saving you a ton of time in the future. And if this is the kind of thing you're doing over and over and over again, then it is totally worth it. And I know that I'm probably preaching to the choir here, and a lot of you already know this, but sometimes we need a podcast like this one just to give us a reminder. Honestly, this podcast is a reminder for me, myself, to say, hey, don't forget to put the time into these automation tasks. They really are worth it in the end. So, hey, thank you so much for listening. For those of you that don't know, I have just released the Quasar Getting Started Guide. So go to quasarcast.com/register. Check out the first course in my course list. It's going to be right up the top. I'm going to have 2 Getting Started guides. So one of them is going to be a Getting Started guide that's very in-depth, where we build a to-do app. That's the one that I'm halfway through building right now. And another one is just like a get up and running really quick guide. So if you're kind of a bit of a pro and you don't want to go through an entire Getting Started guide, this is just going to get you up and running quickly. Having said that, we get pretty in depth in the to-do list Getting Started guide. So that's going to be cool too. So check out quasarcast.com/register. I'm really excited about some of the stuff we're doing there. So thank you so much for listening. And remember, there is nothing you can't build.